Go ahead.
Chapter 13, Text 31. Yada bhuta pritag bhavam ekastham anupasyati tata eva cha vistaram brahma sampadyate tada. Translation. When a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different material bodies, and he sees how beings are expanded everywhere, he attains to the Brahman conception. Chapter 13, Text 32. Anaditvan nirgunatvan paramatmayam avayahe Sharirasthopi kaunteya na karoti na lipyate. Translation. Those with a vision of eternity can see that the imperishable soul is transcendental, eternal, and beyond the modes of nature. Despite contact with the material body, O Arjuna, the soul neither does anything nor is entangled.
Next.
Chapter 13, Text 33. Yatha sarvagatam soks mayan akasam nopalipyate sarvatra vastito dehe tathatma nopalityate. Translation. The sky, due to its subtle nature, does not mix with anything, although it is all-pervading. Similarly, the soul situated in Brahman vision does not mix with the body, though situated in that body.
Thank you so much. So we will go back to 30. So last verse that we studied last week was one who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of the material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. Anybody remembers what that means? And anybody remembers why we should not use it as a way of rationalizing that, oh, it wasn't me, it was my body doing?
Because Prabhuji, we always have a choice to do. Like by default, the soul can the body can go into a different direction, but we always have a choice to just take the reins in our own hand and just give it a right direction.
Correct. The choice to wake up is always there. Wake up spiritually. Okay. There is a message I'm not able to read. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay. So in starting today's verse, Krishna is saying, when a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different material bodies, and he sees how beings are expanded everywhere, he attains to the Brahman conception. Purport: when one can see that the various bodies of living entities arise due to the different desires of the individual soul and do not actually belong to the soul itself, one actually sees. In the material conception of life, we find someone a demigod, someone a human being, a dog, a cat, etc. This is a material vision, not actual vision. This material differentiation is due to a material conception of life. After the destruction of the material body, the spirit soul is one. The spirit soul, due to contact with material nature, gets different types of bodies. When one can see this, he attains spiritual vision. Thus, being freed from different differentiations like man, animal, big, low, etc., one becomes purified in his consciousness and is able to develop Krishna consciousness in a spiritual identity. How he then sees things will be explained in the next verse. So when a sensible man, as in spiritually sensible man, ceases to see different identities, like generally we say India is all about caste system, right? We are racist. We are. There is no question about us being racist, ageist, gender biased. All of that is true. But the Bhagavad Gita is not. It's not coming from the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is very, very different. Here, there is equality on the platform of the soul. In the spiritual platform, there is equality. Man, woman, animal doesn't make a difference. Krishna doesn't see any difference because end of the day, they are all Krishna's parts and parcels in different bodies due to different karma. Somebody's a mosquito, might have been an elephant in past life, right? Somebody's an elephant, might have been something else. So point is, the body is not what Krishna sees. And as spiritual beings, as sensitive, spiritually sensitive beings or sensible beings, we should not differentiate on our compassion based on the body. So I'm compassionate towards dogs, but I'm not compassionate towards cows. I'm compassionate towards rabbits, but I'm not compassionate towards, let's say, buffaloes or trees, right? I like this kind of tree, but I don't like that kind of tree. So these distinctions, differentiations are happening because we have a material conception of life. When there is a spiritual conception of life, there is an equality. So a tree has a soul, a cat has a soul, a human has a soul, you know. So different bodies, a person who is spiritually elevated sees with equal vision. A dog, a cow, a brahmana, a shudra, an old person, a short person, a tall person, the equality is spiritual equality. And that is Brahman realization. Brahman means spiritual. Aham Brahmasmi means I am spiritual. And Parabrahma means God, referring to the supreme spiritual being. So one who has a spiritual vision will not hurt a tree, will not hurt an insect, will not hurt any living being, because they see the unity of all living beings in the sense that all living beings are part and parcel of the supreme being. So we are all brothers and sisters, right? In one sense, because we have one father. So when that unites us, nothing can divide us. Unfortunately, when we have religions fighting with each other, it's about my daddy is stronger than your daddy. And that's a problem. Because in that case, there is a different conception. I am thinking that the Muslim God is different from the Hindu God, is different from the Christian God, is different from the Buddhist God. There's only one God. There cannot be two gods. There's only one God. So how can there be a Muslim God or a Hindu God? God is God. Might have different names, different people might call him differently. But the point is, when we see the unity of all beings, then we focus on our commonality. You know, when I have this karma, when I'm on a flight, especially international flights, I tend to have somebody religious sitting next to me from another religion. It has been a Buddhist monk, it has been Christian preacher, it has been a Muslim preacher, and I'm chanting my Hare Krishna on my bead bag, and somebody next to me would be like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And it'll start all sweet and nice, but they will try to convert me. And then I will hold my bead and start the philosophy. Because I grew up in a Christian missionary school. I studied Islam in college for 2 semesters. I was a topper. And I am a Hare Krishna. I am a little bit aware of the Vedic science. So it's a little hard to kind of pin me down and convert me. So generally the conversation goes in that direction where I try to find the commonality between the religions. and although they're looking for the differences and prove how they're better. And in the process of finding commonality, there is actually appreciation that comes, from the other side as well as from this side, that, oh, look, we are on the same path. We are having many, many similarities. And rather than focusing on the differences, why not focus on the similarities and be brothers in the same journey? When people are becoming atheistic, it is nice to find people who have theistic mentality, who are pursuing spiritual knowledge, pursuing God, no matter what they call. If they call Allah, or they call Krishna, or they call Buddha, hardly makes a difference. But as long as they're pursuing God, we are brothers in the same journey, brothers and sisters in the same journey. So focusing on commonality always helps us appreciate things. Focusing on differences, I don't know how that helps anyone, besides the whole, like, my daddy is better than your daddy, and fight and anger and frustration. It doesn't lead to happiness, right? So similarly, from the Bhagavad Gita, in this particular verse, Krishna is teaching us to see the oneness of all beings, that all beings are Sat Chit Ananda, eternal, cognizant, blissful, at the core, soul level. They're all souls, sparks of Krishna. Right? Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Aham Bija Pradapitaha. I am the seed-giving father. So of all living entities, Krishna is the seed-giving father. Aham Bija Pradapitaha. So if all beings are created by the Lord, how can we have animosity? Now it's important we maintain safe distance from envious people. Like if you see a terrorist, you're not going to say, oh, Hare Krishna, how are you? No. If you see a terrorist, you stay away. If you see a tiger, you stay away. You don't go hug a tiger. You see a hyena, or you see anything that can cause you harm, you respect from far, right? The respect is always there because they are souls. They are part of their divine. They're part of God. But respect from far, in some cases, respect from near. Like if you're good friend, you'll go hug that friend, right? That's very close, intimate relationship. But then with envious folks, whether it's humans or snakes or hyenas or tigers or lions, distance, protect yourself, be intelligent, don't get emotional, right? So the distinction is very, very important. Now, that distinction does not make us bad. Distinction does not mean judgment, right? Sometimes what happens, distinction leads to judgment. Oh, they're like that, I am like this, right? Judgment, oh, looking down on people, or feeling insecure, So distinction does not lead to judgment, or should not lead to judgment, rather. When you distinctly see people for who they are, you make decisions accordingly. Oh, okay, you are so-and-so, so this is how I will deal with you, right? You're a tiger, you want to eat me, so I will stay away from you. You're a dear friend, you want to, give me a gift, or you want to come home for dinner, and I'll host you, right? So accordingly, as people's perceptions or as people approach us, accordingly we deal with them. We're not stupid or foolish, but at the same time, we acknowledge the fact that all beings are divine. That's the Brahman mentality. That's a spiritual mindset. That's a Krishna conscious mindset. And this allows us to be environmentally conscious, not wasting the resources of the planet. That allows us to be conscious in terms of compassion, that we don't harm any living beings, humans or animals or birds. We don't harm any, or if we are harming, we limit and confine ourselves. How are we harming? Just a quick, so that we are a little thoughtful. How are we harming living beings, even if we don't want to harm anyone?
We are breathing, killing bacteria. We are
Very
walking.
good. Yeah, we are walking sometimes on ants or earthworms. When we are breathing with the heat, certain, microbial insects, or sometimes we have sugar that has like black ant on it, and you just had it by mistake. So all of these things happen. So, but we try to reduce it as much as possible, right? That's the idea. So the intent is very, very important. If we are just careless, that's not nice, The intent, living consciously, is important. Okay. So going back to this particular verse, when a sensible man ceases to see the different identities due to different material bodies, and he sees how beings are expanded everywhere, he attains to the Brahman conception. Okay. Those with
I had a
the,
question. I
yeah,
had a question.
yeah.
So you mentioned about distinction and judgment, right? So let's say I see a tiger, right? So the distinction is like that's a tiger, I am a human being. But like how I think or how I see the tiger is like the tiger in the past life maybe wanted to eat a lot of meat. That's why he became a tiger. Is that the
Really?
judgment? Is that the
You'll run
judgment?
for your life when you see a tiger. You won't think past
No,
life.
no, maybe in a zoo, maybe in a zoo, not in real life.
Hmm.
But like, is that coming from distinction or judgment?
No, that's just seeing through the eyes of scriptures, right? When you see
Uh,
a tiger and you're thinking, oh, this tiger must have had the desire. Uh, again, accordingly, it's born as a tiger. So, okay, that is what it is. But if the idea is, haha, look at you, you're a tiger, I'm a human being, I'm better than you, right? That's different
okay, cool.
from just, hey, this is what it is, and this is where I am. All right, sounds good.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Anybody else have a question? Okay, moving on to the next verse. Those with the vision of eternity, Anadi Tattva, Anaditvan, right? Anaditvan means eternity. Those with the vision of eternity can see that the imperishable soul is transcendental, eternal, and beyond the modes of nature. Despite contact with the material body, O Arjuna, the soul neither does anything nor is entangled. So those with eternal vision. Now, what happens is we look at life on a very myopic level, on a very small level. You did this, I did this. You slapped me, I slapped you. A little bigger than that is, you misbehave with me, and I'm thinking, why are you misbehaving with me? You're a nice person. Is something wrong at home? Are you okay? Are you under stress? This is not how you behave. That's a little bit more, right? A little larger context is where one is thinking in terms of, oh, this is a past life conditioning. So broad view, large view versus myopic view. In the myopic view, you don't see the full picture. And that's where we have fights. We even go through breaking relationships because we're looking right here, right now, what happened. But if we look a little further away, why is this situation even come to this point? We get much more clarity. Now, the Vedic system gives us a lot bigger picture. The karma timeline is across many, many lifetimes, right? This life, the life before, etc., etc. So Krishna is saying that those with the vision of eternity, that means one who's looking, so spiritually elevated person, a yogi, looks at the eternity of things with a larger vision and can see the imperishable soul in is transcendental. So imperishable soul, as in the soul is not dying, right? The body is dying, but the soul is not dying. So one who sees the world that way, not everybody sees the world that way. How many of us actually look at life that, oh, okay, the Bhagavad Gita eyes. Just let me pull out a graphic. I hope I can find something that I can show you. So some of you in the morning session, I was sharing some graphics just to make things a little easier to understand. Okay. So as we see, the soul is moving from the infant body to the child body, to the adolescent body, to the youth body, to the old body. And eventually the soul moves on after death. So the soul is never dying, it's transcendental, it's transcending death. The body is dying, just because the soul is eternal. It doesn't have birth or death. It's Sat, it's eternal, it's Chit, it's cognizant, it's aware, it's conscious. That's why we experience joy, experience happiness, experience pleasure, pain. We experience life, right? A microphone doesn't experience anything. It's just vibrations, sensing, and all. It doesn't have consciousness. I have consciousness, right? So that's coming from the cognizance. And it allows me to be blissful, to be happy, ananda. So Krishna is referring to this fact that one who's on the infinite time cycle, right, transcendental time cycle, such a person with that vision can see the imperishable soul, the soul that doesn't perish, the soul that doesn't die, imperishable soul, is transcendental. It transcends death, transcends the modes. It's eternal, it doesn't die. And beyond the modes of nature, that means sattvic, rajasic, tamasic aspects cannot touch it. The soul is pure in its nature. Now, when the soul in its body, the body is getting influenced by sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic nature. And that's leading to what we do, right? The mind, intelligence, ego, leading to what we do. But the soul is pure in its state. Despite contact with the material body, O Arjuna, the soul neither does anything nor it is entangled. So although the soul is in the material body, the soul is not entangled. The soul is simply sleeping, right? And when there is spiritual sound vibration, the soul awakens. When the soul hears the holy name, or Krishna Prasad enters the body, or we enter a temple, or somehow the spiritual connection with God, bhakti yoga, right? Connection means yoga. And through bhakti, through gyan, through karma, through ashtanga, when that connection is reignited, that's when the soul is like, oh my God, finally I'm conscious. Oh, finally I can, do what I'm meant to do. Because the soul can only do spiritual things. It can't do material things, right? So when the soul is awakened to its spiritual reality, that's when the soul reacts. That's when we experience actual happiness. So I know all of you who have been in Krishna consciousness to whatever degree have experienced joy, happiness that you've not experienced otherwise. That is the soul actually experiencing ananda, because that is spiritual happiness. That is really ananda. Material happiness is an oxymoron. It doesn't exist. It basically means relief. Materially speaking, the material happiness we have is relief. Suffering, 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 pause. Finally. Oh, again, suffering, 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 pause. Finally, I'm good. Oh, I'll rest a little bit. But it's going from negative to zero. But spiritual happiness is actually going positive. It can go all the way to infinite and infinitely increase. Anandam buddhi vardhanam. Ananda ambudhi. Ambudhi means ocean. Ocean of happiness increasing infinitely. That is spiritual joy that spiritually enlivened people experience. That's why it's such an addiction. One doesn't want to come back to material activities, material life. That doesn't mean you give up your family. That doesn't mean you give up your business. It's just you see everything spiritually. Okay, I'll pause here and see if anybody is confused. Any questions, any confusions? You can ask the silliest of questions, no problem.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Prabhuji, like sense gratification is a desire of the soul or desire of the mind?
Well, spiritual sense gratification, when we have that, we have to understand that's desire of the soul. Material sense gratification is desire of the mind.
Like spiritual sense gratification as in?
For example, the urge to want to listen to a certain material song, let's say Bollywood song, that's stuck in your head. Like, I have to listen to it. That's a mind wanting to hear it. Same way, sometimes I have to listen to that kirtan and the tears coming out of your eyes and ecstasy, like, oh, that kirtan was so good. That's the holy name. That's a soul's desire, right? So soul can only do spiritual things. A fish can only swim in water. This fish cannot fly, and most fish cannot fly. Some fish can, right? But same way, the soul can only do spiritual things. That's what Krishna is saying in this verse. It does it, although it's in the material body, it's not material. It can't do material things. Despite contact with the material body, O Arjuna, the soul neither does anything nor is it entangled. When you say neither does anything, it basically means does anything material.
Now I got it. Thank you. Actually, for this question, I got cleared that one also. Thank
Yes,
you.
Aparna, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, I have a question.
Yes.
So as it is mentioned that the soul is not entangled,
Mhm.
right? So basically any material deeds that you're doing, that is done by the mind and the
Mind, ego,
intelligence
and
and the,
intelligence. Yes.
yeah, in the material body. So after suppose the material body is doing some bad karma, the soul is passing from one body to another. The soul was not entangled to do all this. Why is the soul being penalized when it is going again in a different body for the karma that was done by this material body, by the consciousness of this material body? All the intelligence and that soul was not even entangled, so it was not even responsible for it. So is it being penalized because it did not wake up at that time and tell the mind that, okay, you don't do it?
It's like saying, if I am sleep driving, right? I'm driving and I'm sleeping, and somehow the car crashes. Am I being penalized for sleeping? Yes. It's not penalized. It's like it's a inevitable outcome. If you drive and you're sleeping, eventually the car will crash. So if the soul doesn't wake up to its spiritual reality, what's happening is sattva mode is hitting this way, raja mode is hitting that way, tama gun is hitting that way, and we're just going wherever like dead fish, going with the flow, right? And while going with the flow, we are coming across action and reaction, karma, action and reaction. And accordingly, new places, we're just like, we're going with the flow. I'm sleeping, spiritually asleep. It's not being penalized. Please don't see Krishna as a cruel master. It is just when you don't wake up, that's what happens. So wake up. And please
Yeah.
understand, the body is not doing anything. It's actually the soul is, although the soul is not contaminated, but the soul is the conscious being. The body is dead anyway. Without the soul, the body is dead. We look at a dead body and say, Mr. So and so passed away. The soul has already passed on. So body is anyway dead. Mind cannot exist without the soul. Body cannot exist without the soul. It is all activated because of the conscious soul being present. But the consciousness is just limited to material consciousness. When it awakens to spiritual consciousness, then magic happens. Otherwise, it's like in a washing machine, just going round and round.
Right.
Is it unclear, Aparna?
No, it makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Most welcome. Anybody else? Pradeep Prabhu, unless I ask you, I know you won't unmute, so I'm asking you. You good? I know you're unmuted, but I can't hear you. Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. If there's nobody, no questions, then I'll move on. Okay. Moving on. I think this verse is also done. The sky, due to its subtle nature, does not mix with anything, although it is all pervading. Similarly, the soul situated in Brahman vision, does not mix with the body, though situated in the body. Purport: the air enters into the water, mud, stool, whatever else is there. Still, it does not mix with anything. Similarly, the living entity, even though situated in varieties of bodies, is aloof from them due to this subtle nature. Therefore, it is impossible to see with the material eyes how the living entity is in contact with the body and how he is out of it after the destruction of the body. No one in science can ascertain it. All right, basically it's saying that the soul is like oil and water, the soul and the body, although soul is inside the body, it's two different elements. One is spiritual, one is material, so they don't mix. They're completely separate paradigms altogether. Okay, Aparna or anybody else wants to read 1334?
Prabhuji, I'll try.
Please.
I don't know. Yatha prakashya the eka krishnam lokam imam ravihi kshetram kshetri tatha krishnam prakashyati bharata. O son of Bharata, as the sun alone illuminates all this universe, so does the living entity, one within the body, illuminate the entire body by consciousness.
Excellent. Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
This is a super verse, right? O Bharata, is referring to Arjuna, as the sun alone illuminates the entire universe. The sun is, light bulb illuminate the universe. So does the living entity within the body illuminate the entire body by consciousness. So the soul, as we have learned, the soul is just 1/10,000th the tip of a hair, but it's illuminating the whole body with consciousness. Imagine that, right? A mosquito sitting on your toe, you can feel it. Or, if there is a hair in your nose or ear, kind of lurking around, you feel it. There's consciousness throughout every cell of your body by the soul's existence. It's throughout the whole body of an elephant or a dinosaur, or whatever animal it might be. Point is, it pervades the entire body with consciousness, and you're conscious and you're aware of yourself. So that's what Krishna is referring to. Like, it's so tiny, yet it is capable of such amazingness. That's why in chapter 2, when Krishna describes the soul, he says, Ascharyavat, awesome, right? It's incredible what this one spark of me can do. We are all little sparks of Krishna, and it's incredible what we can do. We can discover the airplane, we can run a business, we can invent things, we can cook something, we can make a startup out of no money. Right? We can do anything. It is insane what is capable, what this soul is capable of. And when we don't utilize it, sit like a couch potato, that's misusing it, right? That's why Krishna is waking up Arjuna to the spiritual reality. Get up and fight this war. Otherwise, it's a waste of human life. O son of Bharata, as the sun alone illuminates the universe, so does the living entity, one within the body, illuminates the entire body by consciousness.
Prabhuji, I had a question.
Yes.
So when Krishna says like the sun illuminates the whole universe, like astronomically, how does that make sense? Like he could say like, and I know like it is when Krishna said like in the whole universe, I don't know what he meant, but like they compared to the whole universe, sun is a very small star, right? There is a much bigger planet, much bigger stars than sun.
That's not the Vedic understanding.
Okay.
That's a scientific, modern science understanding that the sun is one of the stars, but the Vedic understanding is not that. Stars are stars and the sun is the sun.
So like the sun illuminates all the whole universe.
That you have to go talk to Krishna about that, what he meant by that.
Okay.
Okay, but get the essence of it.
Yes, yes.
The
I got the essence, but I was like,
Get the essence, and let's not get into the nitty-gritties. Is the sun's rays going to all the way to Pluto? Is it going to the Milky Way galaxy? Oh, what's happening beyond? I don't know. Don't ask me. Please ask Krishna. I'm just repeating what Krishna has spoken.
Okay, okay, got the
He's
essence.
saying it in layman's. Just please understand what he's trying to say here. It's like just like the sun is illuminating the universe, and back in the days that was the universe, the solar system.
Yes, yes, yes.
Sun is illuminating that. Same way, the soul is illuminating the whole body with consciousness. Not only that, I actually wanted to add to it, because I have the good fortune of being a public speaker, and sometimes I'm invited to places to inspire a whole audience. I have this realization that I have to be like a light bulb. No matter what is happening in my life, is literally, when I look at my Apple Watch after my speech, I have burned at least 200 to 300 calories. It's like working out for almost 2-3 hours, right? My 45-minute speech is like burning, 200 to 300 calories, because I'm actually illuminating the entire room, right? Getting people motivated. And that is a lot of effort that goes in. So just like the consciousness is illuminating the whole body, there are leaders, not saying myself, but there are leaders who are illuminating a whole country, right? That's that kind of energy, that kind of effort. And that is only coming from a tiny little soul, which is a spark of Krishna. So we can appreciate, what a spiritual spark of the divine is capable of. I just extrapolated Krishna's words a little bit. I hope that's legal. Okay.
Prabhu,
Yes.
what exactly soul wants from body? Means what is the aim of soul to enter in the body?
No, it's not. The soul's aim is not to enter the body. The soul has been trapped in the body, in the sense that soul left Krishna and to live in the material world, just like to live in space. You have a space suit. To live in the material world, you need a material body. And the soul's only thing is it wants to be Satchit Ananda, which is the nature of the soul, eternal, cognizant, and blissful. Now, body dies. We don't want to die. We are fearful of death. Why don't we want to die? Because the soul's natural state is not dying. The soul's natural state is to live on and on and on and on eternally. So what does the soul want? The soul wants to be happy. Anandamaya abhyasat. Why does it want to be happy? Because it's natural to the soul. Sorry?
Soul is Sachit Anand, means it is happy.
The nature of the soul is to be happy. But is the soul happy right now? That's a question mark. The nature of the soul is to be happy. The nature of the fish is to be in water. When you take the fish out of water, is it happy?
No.
So the soul is connected. Karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, ashtaga yoga. When it is connected to the Supreme through some form of yoga, that's when the soul is experiencing joy.
So what actually soul wants from the body is to be happy?
The soul wants to be happy. The soul doesn't want it from the body or anything. The soul wants to be happy. And the only way it can be happy is when there is connection with another soul, and more so when there's a connection with the Supreme Soul. So our happiness happens when we connect on the opposite side, right? We are using a technology, a screen, but we are having some kind of exchange between conscious beings. I hope everybody's conscious here. We are having exchange with the conscious being, and that's giving us happiness, right? When we have exchange with the Supreme Conscious Being, that happiness is of a whole different level.
But soul wants to be in human body or in tiger body. Soul wants.
Soul doesn't care about all that. Soul just wants to be happy. Now, when there is no knowledge, guess what? The only way soul knows to be happy is to use the senses and gratify the senses, materially speaking, because in the material body, the intelligence is material, the mind is material, everything is material. So without knowledge, The only thing one knows is sense gratification. Our 5 senses have to satisfy them. When we have knowledge from Bhagavad Gita, then we know there's a 6th element called spirit. And spiritual happiness is of much higher quality than material happiness. And the moment Krishna gives us a taste of spiritual happiness, we get addicted. So in chapter 2, Krishna says, you can overcome material desires by achieving, tasting spiritual happiness. Or you can overcome lower taste with higher taste.
So only the soul which is in human body can taste the spiritual happiness.
Any soul can taste spiritual happiness. Lord
Means
Chaitanya
in-
made the animals, lions, tigers, deers chanting Hare Krishna in Jharkhand. Jharikhanda forest it is called. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told, you all chant Hare Krishna. And all these animals are standing up and chanting Hare Krishna, right? He gave a dog, some bread and said, chant Hare Krishna. Instead of barking, the dog is chanting Hare Krishna. So it's not that it's, we can hardly make humans chant Hare Krishna, but anyway. But the point is, animals have soul, and there are so many videos. If you go online, there's a Hare Krishna Sankirtan happening. Suddenly a dog arrives and it's walking with them. It won't leave, right? There are peacocks walking along with the devotees. There's so many examples. So it is natural attraction of the soul, whether it's in a human body or any other body, doesn't matter.
So it was the soul's wish to be on Bhulok, or to be in physical body.
Yes, not in physical body, to enjoy away from Krishna. Please understand, there are nuances here.
Okay.
Krishna is always center of attention. I don't like it. I want to be centered attention. Where is that possible? Where there is no Krishna. Okay, let me go there. That is this place. Now to be here, you need to have a material body, spacesuit. And
Yes.
there are certain rules and regulations. And without Krishna, you can't be happy. So Krishna hides inside the body, inside the heart, as Paramatma. Riddesha Arjuna Tishtati. I'm in the heart region, the consciousness region, right? And is guiding
Yes.
us to whatever we want, wherever we want to find happiness. Krishna is like, okay, I'll help you.
Okay. Yes. Very clear, Prabhuji.
Okay, any other questions? All right, we'll move on.
Prabhuji, I'll just want to add something here.
Yes, please.
So, Pradeep Prabhu, that there was a vegetarian crocodile who just died, and he only ate prasadam.
Padmanabha temple in Kerala.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for years and years and years, the crocodile would come out, eat prasadam, all the devotees. He would never harm anyone. It was never ate meat in his life. And, all right. So if there are no more questions, we will move on to the next verse. Is this the next verse? Yes. Somebody wants to read?
May I?
Please.
Chapter 13, text 35. Kshetra kshetragnayor evam antaram jnana chakshura bhuta prakriti moksham cha ye viduryanti te param. Translation: those who see with eyes of knowledge the difference between the body and the knower of the body, and can also understand the process of liberation from bondage in material nature, attain to the supreme goal.
Beautiful. Thank you. Those who see with the eyes of knowledge. This is very, very powerful. There is a statement called Shastra Chakshusha, seeing with the eyes of scriptures. If you see a stone, for example, like you might just kick it and walk past by. But if somebody tells you that stone is Shivlinga, you offer your respects. By the hearing process, you see with your ears, right? Just because somebody said that's a Shivlinga, you offer your respects. Similarly, when we go to the holy dham, people go to Vrindavan, Kashi, Mathura. If you don't know anything, you just go like a tourist, look around, pay some donations, and you come back. But if somebody explains, this is the history, this is what happened here, boom, 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 that place becomes live. So seeing through hearing, right? Like this is the place where Krishna would steal butter from the gopis. This is the place where Krishna, calls every cow with his flute. Krishna has a flute tune for every cow. Every cow knows, oh, Krishna's calling me. Like that. When we hear this, that it's like, oh, Ter Kadamba, this is where it all happened. So similarly, Krishna is saying eyes of knowledge. So we see with the eye of knowledge, right? So the eye of ignorance is, I don't know. I mean, a person who drives through the road. I used to have a driver who was illiterate, literally illiterate. And he would not be able to read road signs or anything. I don't know how he drove for years and years and years, but he did. We never got into any problems with him. But the point is, he couldn't read English or Hindi. The point of that is, so in one sense, he was blinded to a lot of reality. Same way, when we don't have knowledge, we're like, okay, this is what it is. But when we have knowledge, we see the world very differently, right? With the knowledge that every person is a part of God, we see every person with tremendous reverence. When we hear everything belongs to God, we see everything has value. Nothing is discarded. Nothing is valueless, right? Whether the person is rich or poor, that person is divine. So knowledge gives us that. So with the seeing through the knowledge is what Krishna is talking about, the knowledge of seeing the soul passing from one body to another. Now that we know, oh, the cells, entire body cells change every 7 years, and you have a new body every 7 years. But the soul, the sense of I am, I exist, that conscious being is moving from one body to another, right? Or examples like this. This is another piece of knowledge. The difference between mind, intelligence, ego, the soul, the body, the senses. Oh, I didn't know. I thought it was all one blob. No, there is distinction between all of that and what functions they perform, right? So who's God? We didn't know. Oh, we didn't know who's God. I'm a Hindu. I thought there are 33 million gods, right? 33 crore gods. Oh, turns out there's only one God. Open the Bhagavad Gita, you'll see it, right? So without knowledge, life is like how an illiterate person would live. And with knowledge, we see things very, very differently. There's a lot more clarity, like a blurry vision versus a HD, vision, high definition. So those who see with eyes of knowledge, the difference between the body and the knower of the body, that means the soul. The body is just dead. Who's the knower of the body? The person who's capable of knowing, the soul, the conscious being, me. I am the conscious being, the knower of the body, Kshetragya, and can also understand the process of liberation from bondage in material nature. So one who sees with this knowledge can understand the process of liberation. So liberation doesn't mean you have to die to be liberated. Moksha is not just achieved after death. Moksha can be achieved right here, right now. Liberation from what? Liberation from material contamination. Liberation from material way of looking at things. What's the material way of looking at things? I am this body. This is my family. This is my country. This money is mine. This house is mine. I and mine. Aham mameti. I and mine. That's the material way of looking at it. What's the spiritual way of looking at it? I am spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna. Everything around has been already made by Krishna. Krishna is the owner of everything. And being a part of the Supreme, I am a tiny insignificant soul. Krishna is great. I am small, so I worship him. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Lord Brahma is saying, we are tiny. Lord Brahma created this entire creation. He is saying Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. That's the spiritual consciousness, right? That's spirituality. So with the knowledge, with the eyes of knowledge, one sees the difference between body and soul, and one can understand the process of liberation from bondage of material nature. What is bondage of, why is it called bondage? Why is material nature called bondage?
Because you're stuck in the body and you need to get out of this
Why is it
material.
so bad to be stuck in the body? What happens when you're stuck in the body?
Because then you bear with whatever the fruits of your karma is. And like if you do good, you're going to get good. But if you do bad and you get bad, and it's not that necessarily it will cancel each other.
True.
So you're going through the same worldly existence again and again.
Right. Okay. Anybody else wants to add anything to that? Material bondage. What does that mean? Bondage.
I think that our activities are bound and influenced by the modes of material nature, that we act in a certain way. I think we can't act freely in material world.
Can you give it a little more graphic, some masaladar graphic to that, Krishna, since you're an educator? You're muted.
Akshat,
Akshat
I'm
already
not
said
getting
it.
something.
Akshat added the graphics. Bondage in shackles.
Like the senses and
So
mind
bondage means what? To tie somebody up, right? That's bond. Now, if you tie me up and you take me wherever I have to go, does that happen in life? I want to go in this direction, but I'm being pulled in that direction. I know I should be going here, but somehow I can't resist that urge to go in this direction. What is pulling me? The three modes of material nature. Daivesha gunamai mama maya durataya. Mam eva. Daivesha gunamai. Guna means the material nature is called guna, and it also means rope. So three, when you take, when you make coconut rope, coconut fiber rope, you take 3 ropes, you turn it into and make it into a fat rope. You take more fat ropes, make it into a massive rope, right? You see Jagannath Rath Yatra rope, this fat. So that's what's happening. We're tied by the material modes of nature. They're pulling us in this direction. I want to go here, but I'm distracted. I can't work. I'm going in this direction. So that's what's happening. So bondage means we don't have freedom. We don't have the freedom to choose. We are being influenced by, like social media does. I know I shouldn't waste my time, but I can't stop myself. I'm being influenced to watch and watch and watch and watch and watch and watch and read and watch and waste time. Right? That's bondage. And like Mataji also mentioned, Jayashree Mataji also mentioned that, when you're in this body, then you have to suffer birth, old age, disease. You can't run away from the body. You're born in a certain body. You have a prarabdha. Now you would like, oh, I wish I was a little more pretty, or I was a little fairer, or I was a little taller or more stronger. No, you have the prarabdha. That's what it is. That you can obviously enhance a few things, but there are certain things you can't change. So old age, disease, death, we have to face once you have this body. And same way also our actions are pulled in a certain, so karma bandhana, we studied karma bandhana in great details in chapter 6. So same with here, material bondage in shackles. Okay, Shaikat is asking, I'm confused about demigod and Krishna. I practice Mahamantra, but for the protection of my family, I'm worshipping God Narsimha. Yes. For business, I'm worshipping Ganesh. For money, you don't have to do all that, right? Once you come to Krishna, you're good. You don't have to go to worship 33 million demigods. Krishna himself is saying it. That those who are overcome by lust, they are the ones who worship other demigods. Those demigods are empowered by me. I am their source. They don't have any power without me. I am the one empowering them to fulfill your desires. So might as well come directly to me. So demigods are beings like us who have extremely high levels of good karma that has elevated them to heavenly planet where they can be a Surya, Chandra, Indra, Varuna and all of that. But they also die, just like us. Brahma dies, demigods die, over and out. There's only one God, Krishna, and the 33 million are demigods who are souls, who are Jivatma, like ourselves. There's Paramatma. There's Paramatma and Jivatma. They're two very distinctly different entities. Paramatma does not take birth, does not succumb to time, does not succumb to karma. He is beyond everything. Jivatma succumbs to everything in the rules that Paramatma has created. Rules don't apply to Paramatma. Rules apply to Jivatma. Demigods are enhanced version of us, evolved version of us, right? We have 2 hands, they have maybe 4 hands. Kubera has all the wealth he's managing, and they're doing amazing things, great personalities, all respects to them, but they're not God. There's a difference between God and demigod. Devata versus Bhagavan. That's why Vyasadeva chooses to say Shri Bhagavadu Vacha in Bhagavad Gita. Whenever Krishna speaks, Shri Bhagavadu Vacha, because there's only one Bhagavan. Clear, Shrikat? Is Shrikat even here? Yes, he's here. Okay, it's 8:30. I should pause. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.